Well, thank you all for joining us. This is the step 3 of the 3-part appellate brief series. My name is Alex Peck, and I am the LexisNexis representative for the Chicago-Kent College of Law. The whole purpose of this 3-step series was to really kind of dissect the approach that we need to take when we do our appellate brief research. It's quite a weighty task. It's a strong, really deep task that has a bunch of moving parts. And so at each step of the process is step 1, where we talked about our research, step 2, where we delved into the writing process and common pitfalls, things to remember. And now with step 3, I want to talk about resources that are not only available to you on Lexus, but things to remember as you finalize your appellate brief. Today, what we're going to discuss is we're going to go over some things that I recommend you have nearby while you're revising, right? So what do I recommend the revising room look like, if you will? We're then also going to talk about Lexus for Microsoft Office in quite a bit of detail. The reason being is that it really does often help us to be able to use programs and functionalities that can save us time, but also can act as a second check for ourselves. So either if we're using Lexus for Microsoft Office as our first check level or our second check level, it's a great way that we can make sure that we're not missing anything when it comes to the revising of our research and our argument. I'm pulled up to the Lexus for Law School page. We're going to navigate to Lexus for Microsoft Office in just a minute. But let's talk about setting the room. I know this sounds really odd, right? Because we're talking about revising our work. If you're like me, this was the part that I struggled with the most. I had just finished writing it. I had just put all my blood, sweat, and tears, all of the nights of research. The last thing that I wanted to do was sit down and read all of my document. So I want to give you some advice here. The first thing that I want to give you advice regarding revising is take a break. What I mean by that is if you're like me in law school, in undergrad, I had this habit of finishing my work and not stepping back from finishing my work and just immediately going into the revision process. Basically, what I would do is I'd have my coffee, I'd have my Monster Energy drink. It would be late at night, usually either the week of or sometimes the night before something was due. And I would have just finished putting my last argument or my last citation in there. And then the impulse, right, is to immediately jump in and revise. Please take it from me that you should not do that. Why shouldn't you do that? Well, if you have been writing for quite some time, right, your brain's probably a little bit fried. Your brain's probably a little fried. It's also possible that you're just not in the mental space or the mindset to want to go through everything that you've just worked on. So what I recommend is, especially if you've just finished actually writing, putting things together, taking an argument section, finalizing a footnote, putting those pieces together, take some sort of a break. Now that's dependent on what time you have available for the assignment. Okay, if you're in a situation where it's due the next day, you need to at least give yourself 30 minutes. Watch a show, watch something, go read a book, take a break, walk your dog, right? Step away from it and then put yourself back in the mindset as if you're not even seeing your document as your own. What I recommend that you do is you take the break that best fits your time. So 30 minutes if it's the night before, an hour if you can. If it's the same week, maybe you even give it 12 hours. Maybe you give it a night's rest and you can come back to it. Then when you sit down, act like this is someone else's assignment. Act like this is a teammate or you're looking at an opposing brief that you've just been handed this. Change your mindset with what you're working on because it will help you want to tackle the assignment a little bit better. So that's step 1, right? When you're thinking about revising, take a step back. If you've just finished your work, give yourself some time that befits your remaining time schedule. The second thing is have your tools at the ready, okay? If you've been working on your laptop and you've got, an iPad or another main document, a usable source to look up information on Lexis, Westlaw, what have you, I recommend that, right? Have your writing instrument, so your laptop, and then maybe a thing that you can do to do research on the side so you can keep your laptop open and see your writing. That's really, really helpful, right? Set your space for success. The second thing in terms of setting your space for success is that this or your Allwood manual needs to be on your desk during your revisions. The reason being, right, is we're going to look at software today, Lexus for Microsoft Office, that helps you with citation checking. The thing is, though, like any software, you also want to double check what that software has done, okay? And so it's really, really nice to have this book at your side because specifically, you might want to look at differences. You might want to see, okay, this is what the software is saying. I remember, rule 18 is this, right? I also have, and I mentioned this in the last session, I don't get any royalties for mentioning this. I just think it's a really good book. I also always have Ross Guberman's Point Made in the revision section. Why? Right? Well, because part of revising, believe it or not, is sometimes rewriting. It's restructuring. It's taking a substantive look at what you've put on paper and saying, does this flow? Does this make sense? Does this point really hammer home what I'm trying to say? Okay. So those are my two basics. Before we jump into Lexus, two basic recommendations. First, take a break that befits your schedule, right? Based on how much time you have left for the assignment, take a time break away from the writing process to prepare yourself for the revising process. The next piece of advice I have is to have, if possible, two screens, one where your primary writing is on, and then one where you can pull up research, you can pull up stats, you can pull up case law to actually review and reflect. I think it's nice. It helps us, right? Even if you have two monitors with the same machine, right? That gives you the ability to see your writing on one page, the research on the other, and quickly transcribe either the citation or a piece of text, what have you. Then, of course, have your materials at the ready. Have any books on legal writing. Have your Blue Book or Allwood citation in your paper copy, or even something that you've printed out with your information on it at the ready, so you can actually compare and see what you're looking at. All right, but now it's time to talk about how Lexus can help you with that revising process. I'm pretty excited to introduce this to you. We talked about it a little bit last week, but this is going to be where rubber really meets the road here. We're going to do a demonstration. This tool is called Lexus for Microsoft Office, and it's a Microsoft Office add-in that gives you the ability to actually do some of this revision work with the help of this tool. First thing that I want to do is show you how to get to it. I think that this is pretty easy and self-explanatory, but I want to show this at least once today, even though we looked at it last time. So your Lexus for Law School homepage is probably the most important homepage in terms of trainings with me, in terms of your Lexus representatives, your student representatives. Also, any recorded sessions are under the announcement page. So if you want to look at session 1, step 1, or step 2, that's here in the recorded content link. That's the link to my YouTube channel, LexisNexis, the Tools to Succeed. So this has content across the board, school-based content and other content as well. But this page also has a lot of really good training materials and resources. Now you'll notice at the top right, these training resources support icons. If you want to access any of these materials, or if we're looking for the Lexus for Microsoft Office download, this is where we're going to go. So to get to the LMO add-in download, we're going to go to resources. And then in resources, it's going to break down by section the different content. So here are your training resources. These are your webinars. In case you want to know some of our key secondary sources, that's here as well. Our legal research certification. So this semester, it's the practice ready certification. Last term, it was the proficiency certification. Those things are in your training, class and exam prep. These are all down here. There's some really good information here as well. And then we've got career help. And then under apps and tools, you'll notice the last thing on the page, check your work while you write with LMO. If you click that, it's going to then take you to the Lexus breakout page with basically what LMO does, what it offers. And then halfway down this page, you'll see get complimentary access to Lexus for Microsoft Office for PC or Mac. So if I click on this, it's then going to take me back to a Lexus for Law School page. So it auto signs you back into your subscription, recognizes that you're a student, and then you can download for Windows or Windows or Mac. Now I can tell you, I'm an Apple aficionado. I actually worked at the Apple Store in law school. I have both Lexus for Microsoft Office on my Mac and on my work PC, which is a Windows machine. I have seen pretty comparable usage from both. There's not really any pitfalls that I've noticed across the program. The main reason for that, right, is that both are running on the Windows platform. Microsoft Office and Microsoft Office Suite is a Windows platform. And so essentially all we had to do was build the add-in for the same platform, just running on two different types of systems. So either way, this is a really, really great tool. What you're going to be seeing from me today is you're going to be seeing what it looks like on the Windows side of things. So this is how you would get here to download. I'll also include this link in my email to everybody, thanking you guys for coming. So this is an easy way for you to link up with this. After it's downloaded, what you'll notice is you will then be able to see, when you open Microsoft Word, you will then be able to see the add-in at the very top of your Word profile. So this is my Word document here. This is the document that maybe I've been working on, right? And I've been working on and just put the final touches on my argument, and I'm ready to go into the revising stage. You'll notice at the top in my toolbar up here, there is a LexisNexis tab. This is your Lexus for Microsoft Office tab and information. Now, I wouldn't be the resource that I am if I didn't give you a few really key tips about LMO, okay? So what I will say with Lexus for Microsoft Office is I recommend either turning auto saving on or at least saving maybe every other paragraph. I haven't had it crash on me. I will fully tell you that. I've not had a Word document crash when I've been working on it, but I have heard stories with any application that there are issues sometimes. And so especially when it comes to a document like your brief, don't go hours, days without saving and have that document number 1 up there, right? Not only are you using a software in Microsoft Word where there's a lot of functionality going on, you've also put in an add-in here, right? And sometimes add-ins in the software with itself, they don't communicate the best. And so what I recommend with LMO is once you get started, maybe every other paragraph, every 30 minutes, hit the save button. Save yourself some trouble just in case your machine goes down. My charging cord on my Mac actually cut out while I was working at law school, and I lost half of my brief. So it wasn't even a situation where the app crashed, right? Protect yourself, save. I will be there if something happens. Feel free to email me and say, hey, I had an issue here. I've got a contact in the Lexus for Microsoft Office team that I can connect you with. But to protect yourself, make sure you save, okay? The next thing that I want to tell you about this is that I think that this tool is truly, truly awesome. There's just one caveat that I want to make sure that I note for you, okay? And that caveat is because of the subtle differences between Allwood and Blue Book, the citing and quoting format is in Blue Book form only. And I know some of you are probably like, dang it, that stinks. It does, except, as I'm about to put into the chat, I have a document to help you with that. This is called the Blue Book to Allwood Rule Correlations. This is basically, I'm going to throw this in the chat for you, a list of, and I'll put this also in the YouTube link so you have it. Oops, I just copied it into the document. This is a list of the corresponding rules to all of the information. And so you basically have a list where if you see something on a certain rule, what you can do is then say, hey, I know what rule this corresponds to in Allwood. So if I want to check X, Y, and Z, I could take a look at this. Now, as somebody that's actually studied both of the differences are very, very slight. Allwood stands for the American Legal Writing Directors, right? And so they didn't want to create a system that was too different from the Uniform Systems Citation, the Blue Book. And so what you'll notice is when you're looking at the differences, some of them include a date inclusion, an italicized or underlined preference. And so what I would recommend is if you're going through the check quotes, check cite format, table of authorities that we're going to go through, what I would recommend is you do a phase where if you use this software to do that, right, you go through that and then you take a look at the very end with your Allwood text out and you say, okay, I'm going to look at cases and I'm going to see the difference here and I'm going to compare and contrast. I still believe, even though Allwood's not a native selection with this tool, that this tool is going to save you up to hours worth of work. Let me show you how it works, okay? You'll notice up here at the top left, this is probably going to be where you're going to want to spend most of your time when you're using this in the revising capacity. The first thing says get cited docs up here at the top. Now, this is a tool that I would most frequently use if I received a document from somebody else. Basically, what this will give you the ability to do is it's going to hyperlink every single citation within your document and then give you a list of those citations so you could basically pull up and read every single citation someone has submitted. Again, this one is more something that I would use and its partner link to cites. These are things that I would use if I had just received this document from an opposing counsel and I wanted to start reading and comparing the brief to the legal conclusions opposing counsel is asserting. However, the next three, this is really part of the revising process. Let me show you the benefits for each one of these. The first one is check cite format. When I click this icon, the first thing that it's going to do is it's going to tell me, okay, you're going to be citing in Blue Book format and case names are going to be italicized. I will show you if you prefer to do italicized or underlines. I'm going to show you how to actually change that before the end of the session here today. But it's basically alerting me, here's what we're going to be using this for, and we are going to italicize your case names per your preference. I'm then going to hit OK, and the software is going to go through the document. Now, this can take anywhere from, depending on the length of the document, 20 to 30 seconds to about 3 minutes is the longest I had with a 55-page brief. It's going to go through and it's going to mark the citations, and it's going to say, based on the citation, here's what we found. Now, let me head off a potential question. It uses citation recognition technology and ability, right? So if you have a citation that's so off base, right? If you just put Rogers and Hammerstein, right, and didn't do anything else there, it may not recognize that as a citation. Its goal is to be as close to the mark as possible. So the closer you are to actual citation format, the better it's going to be. Here's a perfect example. Section 56 here. This is just kind of out in the open, right? But notice how the software said this could be a citation. I don't know. I'm not really sure about this. We can't really confirm that this is valid, but it looks like a citation for a few different reasons, okay? So as long as you're in the ballpark, right, and your citations kind of line up, you may at most get something like this that says, we're not really sure what you were trying to do here, okay? You may also see this green check mark, which means this is good to go. This is recognized as a valid Blue Book citation per our format. You'll notice that the yellow exclamation point, this is a recognized citation, but this doesn't mean that this means it's not confirming to the style guide. So it might be a situation where you've cited a case and maybe you've missed the actual citation itself. Maybe you've put, in this example, Holt versus United States, but you forgot to put the citation, right? You forgot to put the actual citation number. So it might give you a yellow exclamation point or something like this, Rule 12b1. Okay, which means they're saying, hey, we recognize this as a citation, or Redmond versus US here. Hey, this is the proper format, Redmond versus United States. You've got a yellow box check mark, which means that you have confirmed a non-confirming cite as okay, which means that you've gone through and said, I've recognized this, I've read this, that's okay. Question mark we've talked about, and then this is the same thing where it couldn't be validated, but you've made it okay. And then something that you've marked as not a citation. So again, if you've got something that's kind of floating out in the ether, Rogers versus Hammerstein, or Rogers and Hammerstein, and it catches it, you could say, hey, that's not a citation. I was writing my favorite, musical duo, and I don't know why that's in my brief. You can get rid of it, okay? What I love about this is it's very spell check format in a bit, where you have the ability to actually go through each of these and say, hey, I want to use this, or I'm going to mark this as not a citation, okay? And it's going to then update it and say, you've marked this as not a citation, and then we can go on to the next one. And then it's going to say, this looks like the correct format. We can use this and say, let's use this current one, and it's going to update. Now, again, this is part of the process, especially if this is my first go round, where I'll have my Allwood document front and center, especially knowing that there's some slight nuance differences between Allwood and Blue Book. So this might take me a bit, but to go through and say, hey, this looks good in Blue Book format. This is a case name. This needs to be italicized, or this needs to be underlined. Okay, I'm actually going to edit this text, and I'm going to change this and add, something or the other. Okay, so this is part of the process where I'd actually be going through and comparing my suggestions here versus the Allwood format. So I think you can kind of see how this works. Now, there's something that I also really, really like about this as well. Notice what you have down here, okay? This is really, really nice. It's giving you all of your Shepherd signals for the associated cases. This is another thing to keep your eye on as you're revising, right? Maybe you're citing to a case and you see that red stop sign. We've talked about this quite a bit. What I would do is if I saw that red stop sign, I'd just double check. I'd look at the jurisdiction to see where the stop sign applies to. So if I'm citing to Redmond versus United States, and let's say I had a red stop sign here, which would mean something's been overruled, I would check to see the overruling authority. What jurisdiction is it in? Is it in my jurisdiction? Do I need to worry about it? Right? And I'd also then check, secondly, what issue is being overruled? Is it the substantive issue of the case that I'm citing? Oh, I probably need to go take a look at this to make sure that this is still valid authority here. So use this to your advantage, right? And be able to say, okay, cool. Yeah, I can see my citations and I also can see my Shepherd signals. Now, if you're feeling confident, which I mean, maybe you're on your third go through and you're feeling good here, you can hit correct all or use current all, which means that you're either going to make all the possible changes, or you're just going to say, hey, thanks so much. I'm going to leave it as is. Okay. What you can do is after you've made some changes, you can then hit refresh report and it's going to check all existing citations. This is really nice because if you've added anything to your document, so say you've added a new paragraph or you've added a new citation, it's then going to refresh the report for you and take a look and say, hey, here's what we have here. Here are the things, this is the report just done over again for you. Okay. So that is check cite format. And if I want to get out of that, I just hit the little X in the top right-hand corner. Now, we've got check quotes. Same thing. This is going to be a verifying of quotations in your document. So the nice thing about this is this isn't necessarily Blue Book or all wood tied, right? This is you are quoting language. We're going to make sure that you're quoting the correct place and the correct language. Let me show you why this is so important. When I hit OK here, what it's going to do is it's going to go through my document and it's going to find any instance that I have used quotations. Remember, we use quotations when we are citing the direct language. For paraphrasing, we might just cite to the paraphrase, right? And so the purpose of this is we want to make sure, A, we're citing the correct language, and B, that we're citing to the right spot where that language is located. So check quotes is going to say, am I using the right language? Is this the right spot? Same thing, anywhere from 30 seconds to maybe 2 to 3 minutes, depending on the volume of your brief and how many quotes you've got here. This is probably my favorite feature because this is the one that you can really mess up really, really easily. Citing is, kind of uniform. It's easy to mess up, but it's once you got your Blue Book and you've gone through it, you can get it right. But finding that page number that citing information, that quote that you're looking for is on, that can be a bit of a pain. And so I really like this because I think that this is a great way to be reminded, what's the source text? Am I making sure I'm citing correctly? Here's a perfect example. Look at number 3 here. When personal jurisdiction is dependent upon the same statute, blah, 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 the jurisdictional claim, Wheeler versus Herdman. Okay, that looks great. But look at what the source text says. When subject matter is dependent upon the same statute. Well, just right off the bat, I have really messed up this citation, like pretty badly. I've chosen the wrong type of jurisdiction, which if I'm representing a client could be a big issue in contention that opposing counsel would definitely jump on me for. So we can see here that the citation is not correct. And so I need to go in there and make sure that I used the source text and correct that issue. So you'll notice here, right? It's taking a look at what's being cited and also the pin site that's there. Same thing. A district court may not presume the truthfulness of a complaint's factual allegations. I've put legal, right? And so this is, again, a really nice little practice here where it's going through and it's saying, where are you using quotes? Is that applicable? Again, nice benefit. I don't need to compare Blue Book or all wood format. I've got this right here. Okay. The last thing that I want to show before I show you a few options changes, and then we can close it out with any questions. So I want to show you the pièce de résistance, if you will, and that is preparing a table of authorities, everyone's least favorite task. Nobody likes doing it. It's very time consuming. It can be, but I think that our software makes this a little bit easier, even easier than Word's natural table of authorities kind of software. So what I want to do is the table of authorities needs to go before any of this information. So I'm just going to put my cursor right here. You're going to see why. I'm going to do that in a second. And then I'm going to click prepare table of authorities. It's going to ask me to prepare here, and I'm just going to click prepare. And notice again, it's going to use general purpose Blue Book format, and it's going to ask me to prepare a table of authorities. Now, the nice thing is comparing your Blue Book and all wood format with your table of authorities is going to be pretty easy since it's all full citation listing, right? So it's the full format of your citation basically on one page, from your statutes to your US Supreme Court, your appeals courts, your district courts, secondary sources, right? And so you can really quickly go through here and say, oh, case, with all wood format, this is what I need to include versus Blue Book. You can change that very easily. What it's then going to do, same thing, right? 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It's going to go through the document and it's going to verify all of my citations and it's going to list it out for me. So it's going to list it out and it's going to say, based on your table of authorities, here's what we have here. Here's all of the information that we found that can be referenced as citations to go in your table of authorities. That information is going to appear. Notice, of course, it is going to appear in alphabetical order. Now, one of the things that I really recommend here, right, is that there will be instances, Rule 12b1, Rule 12, Rule 56, right, where if I hadn't put in the proper citation, so for these instances, I have no idea what I'm referring to here. Is this an FRCP? Is this a federal rule of evidence? Is this a state rule of trial procedure? What is this, right? It's going to just list the citations as I've corrected them. So I always recommend putting in your table of authority last. After you've checked your quotes, after you've checked your citation, make sure everything lines up. But let's pretend, for the sake of fun and games here, that I agree with all of these. They all look great. I'm going to then hit Insert Table of Authorities, and this is why I selected the cursor. When you add a table of authorities, it's going to be inserted at the current cursor position. Okie doke. And it's going to throw those in right there. Not only does it throw it in, it's also going to give the instances where those appear right here for me. Okay, it's in that Blue Book format that I've cited, that I've said is correct. It's basically giving me those citations as correct and accurate, and I've got that list right through here. Now, what if I do more work, right? What if I create my table of authorities and I am talking to a professor and they say, Alex, you need to put in a whole argument section about about a protection for a First Amendment issue, right? So what protection does this student have? You need to put in a paragraph about that. Let's say I didn't think about that. I go back, I do my research writing process, and now I'm revising again. If I make any changes and I want to update, I can just click Update TOA. It's going to then hit an update. It's going to go through and it's going to find all of the citations again. It's going to basically say, here's the update, here are the changes that we've made. And it's going to then ask if you want to update the table of authorities. Okay. I think of these tools, the only thing that I would be aware of, right? And I will be happy to answer this question to anybody that sends me emails about this. Okay. Because we don't have an Allwood native format, the only thing I'd be aware of if I were you is, as you're using this, right? Maybe you've gone through and you've checked your site, you check your quotes and you check your citation, and you see that you make your sites comport to Allwood style, right? If you run check citations again, this is probably the most important thing I'll tell you. It may say that your citations are wrong, right? If you've gone through and you've verified your citations and changed them to comport with Allwood, they're not going to potentially look right compared to Blue Book. Take that confidence of you being able to say, hey, I've learned this for a year now. I've got this book sitting right next to me. I have the document that Alex sent where I can comport the rules and see the difference. And just know that if you get those question marks, or if you get those, those yellow exclamation points, that nothing's wrong, that you are in Allwood format and you're good to go. Okay. I just want to empower you to do that, right? This check site format, it's going to be really, really great your first time around. It's going to show you glaring errors. But if you're qualifying it with Allwood format, you want to make sure, right, that you are being empowered to know, after you make those changes to Allwood, that when you run it again as Blue Book, it may mark those as wrong, but you've made them right yourself. Okay. Now that sounds confusing. I hope that makes sense. So when, at the very end, as you're putting in your table of authorities, you see all those yellow exclamation points, you can say to yourself, put it on a Post-it note, make a banner, I don't care, right? Say to yourself, hey, those are right in Allwood format, and that's what I need for this assignment. If this was Blue Book, yeah, then I would be talking about that, and I would say, hey, make the change to Blue Book, okay? Totally get why some instructors like Allwood. I totally understand its preference. Like I said, the differences are minute. But that's something that I would definitely remember as I'm going through this process, okay? The last thing that I want to show you is this options tab here, right? So I mentioned that if I had things that I wanted to do in terms of substantive changes, that I have the ability to do that. This is in the settings and help section right up here in options. What you have the ability to here in jurisdiction, you can pick your jurisdictions, get cited docs, same sort of thing. Citation format, this is where your changes are going to matter here. We've got citation format, Blue Book, California, New York, Florida, Texas, Illinois, Washington. I'm pretty sure Illinois uses Blue Book format as well. I think this is just state-specific format for our main jurisdictions, so I would keep it in Blue Book. The thing that I would recommend is that you take a look at these additional changes here. So case names and citations should be what? Underlined or italicized. I'm an italics guy, don't know why. I switched, I used to be an underlined person. Never use id format and short form citations, include the Shepard's indicators, right? Do not format citations in quotations, exclude citations and document headings, right? So you can go through and you can actually make those changes to make sure that those line up. Same thing with table of authorities. If I wanted to look through here and see anything, I could alphabetize, I could list citations. All of these formatting options are even here for you, including how your table of authorities heading, your categories, and your entries look. I know some instructors want you to use federal civil procedure, appellate, FRCP citation rules. So that would be, Times New Roman 12, right? Some don't care. I had an instructor that was like, hey, use, something that is a sans serif or whatever. You can make those changes as well. Same thing with check quotes if you've got anything here to make those changes, okay? All right, so we talked about quite a bit here with revising in terms of Lexus for Microsoft Office. Does anybody have any questions before I go back one time and show you where to download this and then announce who has won our gift card? Andrew.
Hey, I had one question. As you were presenting, I was trying to download the add-on and kept getting an error. Are there any prerequisites for our computer that we need to have in order to be able to download this tool?
There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be. The only thing that I've noted that has happened sometimes is that I had an issue where my browser didn't allow downloads from extraneous sources. So it could be that issue. If you want to pop me an email, I can kind of see what the deal is. Like I said, I've got an LMO person point of contact that I have become close to because I talk about LMO so much, where we can see if it's an individual browser issue or maybe some sort of an update that needs to be taken care of.
Sounds good, thank you. And you talked about the Blue Book to Allwood correlations, and I forgot what you had mentioned, but this tool, this add-on allows for it to be Allwood. Is that correct? Or were you saying that you have to, it does Blue Book and then that correlation just allows you to edit it?
Great question. So it does Blue Book formatting only, and I asked my person about that, and the reason, my point of contact, and the reason being is that Allwood is usually used very briefly, usually first year of instruction, and it's not really adopted by any major court systems, and so they've just kept the Blue Book format. But as I was saying, if you do the site for, check site format, check quote format, and go through and have your Allwood guide next to you, right? The differences are slight enough, and I sent the correlation for the rule correlation here, that you can actually say, oh, I'm looking at this, I want to make sure my cases look fine. The format is usually either a date or, I think the main thing that comes to mind is how the circuit and the date and the citation are ordered, if I remember correctly. So you can actually look and see the citations listed out and then open your Allwood guide and say, what changes do I need to make so this is Allwood compatible?
Thank you.
Absolutely. So again, yes, I think that the benefit, you guys, for this tool is not only will check site format kind of tee you up, right? Tee you up after you've finished and you start your revising process. It really tees you up to be able to go through very quickly and say, what citations do I need to take a look at now, right? What are really not compatible with Blue Book, Allwood, any format, right? And then it also, check site format also allows you to go through and say, this is Blue Book correct. What changes do I need to make it Allwood correct for my assignment? Okay. As we talked about, check quotes, that doesn't comport to a style. That's just, does my quote match up to where and what I'm quoting? And then your table of authorities, like I said, that's in Blue Book format, but the nice thing is it's full form citation. So it's really easy to quickly say, how do I comport this to make a full form citation? One little cool thing that I kind of like about this that I'll leave you with before, I know we're a little over time, I apologize for that, is that you can also search natively in your Word document for things on Lexus. So if you need to pull something up really quickly, you can hit this search icon. And what's going to happen is now we're searching everything in Lexus. So if I wanted to, and I was typing in, public school and speech here, if I was just trying to remember, oh, what's that case, that one thing that I was looking for, basically what this is going to do is this is going to run a speech. It's going to run a site for you on Lexus. I'm going to switch from Lexus Practice Advisor to Lexus, and it's basically going to pull up all of my cases. So I'm running a Lexus search in my Word document. It's kind of fun. I saved this one for last because some people love using this. Some people are just like, yeah, I'm never going to use that. But if you need it, it's right there. I know opening a new tab is very easy as well, but you can also view in browser and quickly download this to any folders that you've created. So I just think it's kind of a nice thing to have in our back pocket here. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to switch back over one last time, and I'm going to share my Lexus for Law School homepage. Once again, how to download this add-on, right, is to go to the Resources tab. At the very bottom of the Resources tab, you have an Applications section. Very bottom, Apps and Tools. Check your work while you write with Microsoft Office here. It's going to be halfway down. And then that is going to link you to your Mac or your Windows download. Again, as I mentioned, if you have any questions with this software, if something goes wrong, right, if you've got a question about access, if you have a question about a tool, please do not hesitate to reach out to email me. My big recommendation is save as often as you can with any document that you're writing that's of big importance. Like I said, I haven't had any issues with the add-in, but you never know. And so I want your document and everything to be safe and for you to be happy. I hope this was helpful. I'm really, really excited to have everybody here today. Thank you guys so very much. And congratulations to Glenn Johnson. Glenn, you're going home with the gift card this afternoon. I'll be sending everybody an email with this link. Thank you so much. Feel free to stick around if you have any questions.